Hey guys, it's Dave. Today we've got a viewer request, short tutorial on how to make one of these cylindrical tower trellises. This is stolen right from Toril Nyhus, who is the late Swedish Hoya Society president of something like 25 years. Anyway, Summer Rain Oaks did a tour of her apartment, and I think at that time she was down to 400 Hoya because, in her words, it was too much work. So at any rate, it's a very easy thing to do. I wasn't sure I would love it, but I do. You can put a lot of plant in a relatively compact area, which is always a good thing for those of us who collect Hoya. And if you don't collect Hoya, what are you doing right now? Why are you watching this? This, our spokesmodel today, is the Hoya fungii. And while this isn't a plant focus video, I did just want to highlight this beautiful plant because it's very affordable. I think you can get an unrooted cutting of this for probably $5, rooted cutting for $10-15. This one is seed grown. It's right underneath a light for filming. It's very, very dark and rainy today in Iowa City, but it is even in pretty high light in the Mars Hydro tent. It has maintained these really dark, beautiful green leaves with a little freckling on them, just to keep it interesting. But we aren't here to talk about the fungi or any other plant on this segment. Now I'm going to bring up some interesting props and assess those as some plants I'm going to be selling this spring. So if you want to join me for that, stick around. But right now we're going to build this trellis. And right now I'm going to move this plant so I don't knock it on the ground. Classic Dave. Actually, no. Classic Dave would be to have a very expensive plant here to knock to the ground and decapitate. Yeah, that's how I do things. All right, so this is just rabbit fence. It's 16 gauge, so you are not going to want to buy anything that's flimsy. Let's get this rolled out a little bit. Don't worry in the beginning about making this look pretty or making any of the wire meshes, whatever they might be called, even or anything like that. We'll get to that. Let me lower the camera a bit. Just a little bit. There we go. I mean, I am having kind of a good hair day, so I hate to crop it out, but we need to make some progress here. All right. So for, a 4-inch pot, I think these are sold at Lowe's. I think it's maybe a 4.5-inch pot, something like that, which holds a much higher volume of material in it. I have found that using 7 of these blocks works best. So count off your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these, and then cut them on the inside of the support brace there, I'll call it, so that those tines are open. And these are 10 snips. I could not find my side cutters. Why would I be able to find something that I use all the time? No, there's no reason I would be able to find that. And I'll get this out of the way. And then I've found that 6 high works best for me. One, it fits in the shelves I've already got built, but it's stable even when the plant gets top heavy. For the plant that I just very nearly killed, the Hoya boati, I did have a much taller trellis because it's a crazy fast vining. Well, they're all vining, but it vines very, very quickly, so it's easy to wrap around and create a big full plant, kind of like the seedling fungi. But if you have something like the Hoya crassipedialata, you're going to potentially want a taller trellis. Those are such aggressive vining plants. So what I'm going to do is cut this off, which will leave us with 2 of these, and then I'll show you what I do with this here in a minute. I'm going to cut these off and just use it as a mini trellis on some of the props that are growing up. There we go. As you can see, you can kind of either use it, like here's a Hoya honey pink, lovely, lovely propagation doing super well. So I'll just use this to prop it up for now. And I also have used it when I'm using a plastic bag doing some seedlings to keep the plastic bag from collapsing on them. I just have used this as a brace, put the big Ziploc over it, so I wouldn't throw it away. You can probably find a use for it. Don't worry about making this too terribly round. We're just going to get it started here and get the wire into kind of, you know, the cylinder. I find it easiest to start in the middle with that tine, fold it over. Oh my God, Martha Stewart would not be impressed. Martha Stewart's not here helping. There we go. And then I squeeze that open area here just for aesthetics, and it makes a nice tight fit. Rinse and repeat that. I think you're getting the idea of how simple this is. And like I said, I love these. As I display Hoya, well, not Hoya, as I display plants around my house, I do like to give them space. It's just my aesthetic decision. I understand that a lot of people want every single square inch packed with plants. I just find it easier to enjoy if I can look at plants kind of doing their own thing in their own space. I like round trellises. They just take up a tremendous amount of space unless you turn them sideways on the shelf, and then you can't really enjoy the plant. So it sort of needs its own display area, as it were. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to do this one like that. Tighten that up. And there'll be time to kind of round out these that have flattened out. This is not rocket surgery here, just to make it look nice. And then for the bottom here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. So I'm just cutting off that closed in bit like that, so that we have the tines that can go into the pot. And then we need to create some space for the actual plant. So what I do there is we've got open, and then we have a closed block, and I'm just going to snip this, and then the sides here, here and here, and that will allow this to slip around the plant. And you saw that piece of metal fly. If you have kids or a pet, especially if you're going to cut off a very, you probably won't even be able to see that, but a very small piece of metal, be careful, because those do kind of potentially fly off. And take care of your own eyes too, of course. But now you have an open area for the plant. I don't think these work great for something like carnosa types, things that are already well established with thick vines. Like I have some morellis that that probably would be very difficult to wrap at this time. But taking a traditional 4-inch pot, you can kind of get it in there and get those tines kind of bent in so it's shaped for this pot. And the only caution I would give you when you've got your substrate in here, if you've got you probably do have a chunky substrate if you're using a traditional, in quotes, soil-based mixture. If you're finding resistance, resist the temptation to force this down, because these are flimsy. They'll just bend, and you're gonna, it's not gonna be as sturdy as it once was. So, and then the only other thing is that, these will catch on a piece of bark, like whatever your mix is, and so you just have to kind of maneuver those out, create its own space. But once you've got it down there, it's very stable. I even have my Magnifica that was in one of my early videos. I've been on YouTube for fewer than 3 weeks, but one of my early videos, but way back when I was beginning this journey, and it's done very, very well. That is such an aggressive grower and such a huge plant that's going to have to be upgraded to like a double bamboo hoop system. It's just going crazy. So anyway, that's it. It'll work in this larger pot. It'll work in a 6-inch pot. These have a lip on the inside, if you can potentially see that. So this is a situation where I would want to, again, form fit that, bring these in a little bit so you don't run into trouble when you've got your plant in there. And you know, you may have to manipulate leaves and so forth, and then just take orchid clips or, you know, the butterfly or dragonfly clips, and be very careful that you don't fold your vine. Sometimes if you do, and it's probably inevitable, you know, to occasionally cause a little damage, they will bleed a little bit. Sometimes they heal themselves and they grow just fine. Sometimes they appear to have healed themselves and there's just no new growth. And I've had that happen. And then it's just a matter of trimming the vine back and it starts the cycle of growth all over again. So that's it for this. Very simple, very effective. Thank you, Toral Nihus. Rest in Hoya heaven peace. And I'm going to grab some plants, some supplies, and if you want to join me for that part 2, I'll see you in a moment. And if not, I hope to see you in the next one real soon. I'm going to put you on hold. All right, and we are back. Let's see what we have here. We have got a passel of Mike Bernardo hybrids. This is the Sunshine 1594, no further session number. April at Unsolicited Plant Talks is selling the B seedling. This just came with 1594. So obviously won't be adding anything onto that. The difference is hers have a distinctly creamy colored flower. These are quite yellow, and I prefer this one. Not just because I am growing them. Shall we start with the one I dropped on the floor? Well, I don't know why I thought I wanted to deal with these. By the way, welcome back if you stuck around from part 1. I don't know how many people enjoy Hoya chores, but this is a little different. I don't hear too many people talking about getting their plants ready for sale. Maybe they do, and I just haven't heard it. My goal, it's twofold on plant sales. It's one, to make this a self-sustaining hobby. And by starting a YouTube channel and buying some equipment for that, I really blew that out of the water for sure. But the second thing I want to do is get this plant out safely. So let me concentrate on that. Is get some interesting plants out into the world, at least my local part of the world, cheaply. So you're looking to get a Sunshine right now with shipping, you're looking at a $75 plant. I will be selling these plants in such a way that just about anybody can afford them. And then hopefully they will pass them on and we'll just continue this wonderful lineage. And that's true of a lot of the plants I have that I'm going to sell. So we are, and the reason I'm addressing this, not only because the plants are getting extremely top heavy, they're drying out very quickly. And there's our root system. Extremely easy growers. They can handle very, very high light and they sun stress beautifully. I mean, gorgeous. It's like a huge leaved sunrise almost, but the pattern's a little more uniform. So I talked at length about that probably in that episode 1. But what I have done with these, so these props, most of these started off as 1 or 2 nodes. I bet these all started off as just 1 node, and some have grown much quicker than others, but they've all grown spectacularly well. And I put them directly into the substrate that I'm going to grow them in, and they start growing immediately. So one of the things that just puts my teeth on edge is the often repeated advice over and over again with people that may or may not have enough experience with Hoya to know if it's true or not, but they have certainly read it. There's my editorial on it. Hoyas have to fill the pot before the vines will grow. Absolutely untrue with every plant. I'm going to bring Jennifer down after I'm done with these. They start growing immediately. They start vining, they start putting on leaves way before they could possibly have a chance to grow any roots. So that has not been my experience with these plants at all. Here's another one. These are all the same age. I took all these cuttings at once, and so, I mean, we have another one over here. So we're talking about a plant that likes to grow. There's no reason these should be $75 to get you a starter plant. Now, I think someone growing them and taking the time and spending the money should be compensated, but no, not $75, absolutely not. I'm also not running a nursery, so keep that in mind. All right, what am I gonna put this in? Probably, this might be, I'm going to go ahead and put this in a 4-inch terracotta, this one, that one, possibly this one, and use cocoa chip, perlite, and cocoa coir, and that's it. Very, very simple. I love these cocoa chips. They are small. Some of them are huge. The bark I'm currently using is gigantic, but I just can't spend the money on fine bark. I think it's just outrageously priced. If you have a source for fine bark that's reasonably priced, please comment. And I will speed you up through the rest of these, or just by editing magic have them done. But common advice, of course, is to only go up slightly in pot size, etc. and so forth. I'm not going to keep repotting this plant that is such an aggressive grower, both in terms of roots and foliage. So as long as I'm using this very chunky substrate, something like that, to sit the plant in. I never wear gloves, by the way. I like to get my hands in here and know how much cocoa coir I'm pulling out, because I tend to go a little too coarse, generally, left to my own devices. I'm a coarse man. So something like that looks good. And given that this is so chunky, these roots have plenty of oxygen. It's not going to hold on to a ton of moisture. I have done this a bazillion times. So this is not an experiment. This is something that I know works, and it works well. So we will take one of the cages I just built. Trellis tower. Cage sounds like I'm imprisoning this poor beautiful plant. And I'm just going to gently fold that forward. Make sure I'm not about to cut through a leaf or smash it. Do that. I'm going to add a little more substrate. It's no accident that I do this while my wife is at work. And then that's it. I'm going to put this counterclockwise, which is, of course, how Hoya grow. Don't you fall over. I had more orchid clips somewhere, but I will use the butterfly clip. And I will put one here to stabilize it. And then I'm going to steal a clip from there. I'm going to put it right there. And then that growth tip will work its way up. And as this plant grows, maybe I will, actually I'm going to put that lower, and it'll leave 2 growth tips. Nice. and there's a plant. And if I had my druthers, I would keep all of these because I love them so much, but that's would be going against what I just said, that I want to share these with the world. So that is what I do. This one I'm keeping. And we'll water these all through at once. I use RO water from the kitchen because that's available to me. I'm not saying it's necessary, you know, but that's what I do. And let's take a look at this one. And there's an example of me using some of that extra wire just to hold the plant. But as you can imagine, you know, I just look at this in the tent and it falls over. So very annoying. And y'all label your plants, right? That's the biggest mistake I ever made in the beginning, thinking I would remember everything that I put in a prop box. And some obviously have very distinctive leaves like this does, but oh Lord. So what we have here, this is a, whoo, that is a beauty. And again, this was one node. Maybe I did 2 rounds. I'm not sure, but I would say I put this in the prop box into this cocoa coir and perlite. This might be 2 months old, maybe 3 months old. And then it's been growing in the tent. So, you know, this is dramatic, incredibly fast growing plant. And in that, I'll include a photo I have of this flower dripping nectar. It's a little past its prime. It's a terrible photograph. It's from in the tent, and but it's what I have. I can't believe I don't have a better picture of it blooming. It's about to rebloom, so I'll have some better ones. These are really, this one's quite rooted in. So just be patient, Dave. Yes! This, as a houseplant grower who loves to propagate plants, that is what you want to see. Gorgeous. And no wonder this is so thirsty. Of course, the more foliage it puts on, the thirstier it's going to be. That just makes sense. And I don't see any, maybe I will loosen this up just a titch. No, it's got some little chunks of bark in there right after I said I didn't have any. Maybe it's cocoa coir, but I see some charcoal. So I'm just going to leave that be. And I try to get the bottom just chunky because the cocoa coir will sift down. So, and we will get that and that, spill it all over, pick it up, put some big chunks on top. Kind of acts like spag moss almost on top there. This is one of those situations where when I read about some of the common questions on Facebook, you know, it's in terms of watering, it's stick your finger in, and when the first inch or two, well, in this case, that'd be a challenge. 1, to get your finger in there, and 2, this surface area stuff is going to dry very, very quickly. The question is, where the roots are, is it dry? And I use a moisture meter, and that brings out an ugly side of people that want to win the argument on that they don't work. If it works for you, it works for you, and it works for me. And there have been plants that I've been absolutely convinced that they need a drink of water, especially ones that are prone to root rot. I put the moisture meter in there and not even close. So it has saved my bacon a number of times. So I use it. I recommend it to people who want to give it a shot. So I will carefully place this so I don't impale a leaf. And you may find that you have to kind of gently bend a leaf out And sometimes they'll just be growing up inside. And it's looking good so far. Get that out there. And there we go. So that kind of compacts it a little bit. I will fill that up. Now if I grow up a larger plant like this and sell it, I probably, you know, this one wouldn't be, you know, $20. I would imagine. But wouldn't be a fortune either. So I will be right back. Okay, got some of my clips. And I need to order more. So we will see what the plant wants us to do. And what the plant wants us to do is take this cage out. Carefully. And then I'm going to move this vine just onto the other side of that tine. I think, no, that's not going to work. Oops. Get that little cutie. Are we clear? There we go. All right, well, that's how it goes. So, maybe if I can't see what I'm doing, if I put this a little further this direction, does that give me a little more room to maneuver this vine? And the answer is, with a little manipulation there, so I can make sure that I am not going to put a clip where any new leaves are. How many times have I done that? It's been a few. And there's a leaf right there. No, that is a, oh hell yeah. There is a peduncle right there. I have absolutely no idea if this is focusing or not. Another wonderful thing about the sunshine is that it will bloom quite young. So yes, these are all taken off of a mature plant, but there you go. There's a peduncle. This is going to make me or somebody very, very happy. Is anybody left? Thank you if you are. And I think we'll wrap it up with sunshine today since there were so many to do. I have such a mess to clean up. I've got these props to take care of. I'm going to water those through, and then I'm going to find spots either in the Mars Hydro tint or in a prop box. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Show yourself a little kindness. This is the time we have. See you next time.